Good morning, my friends. Welcome to the 10-minute book talk, where three best-selling authors talk all things bookish with you for 10 short and sweet minutes. I am your host today, Marie Bostwick, and I am here with my friends Rachel Linden, Katherine Reay, and it is my great pleasure to be able to introduce Marybeth Whalen to you. Marybeth and we've sort of been in each other's orbit for a really long time. I've read Marybeth's books for a long time. I believe she has read mine, although if she hasn't, she could just fake it. It's not
Can't
required.
say that now.
No,
Don't say that. Don't ask that on live.
no, I'm not going to. I'm just saying, I want people to know that, like we don't, authors, you can be our friends without reading our books. That's what I'm just saying. But
Yes.
I have read, she's a wonderful writer. She has written a fabulous and fascinating new book called Every Moment Since. I really enjoyed it. It is thoughtful, it is deep, but don't take my word for it. Marybeth, tell us a little about your great new book, Every Moment Since.
And yes, I have read you. I've even blurbed your upcoming book, so that's very exciting.
Oh my gosh, thank you. That's
yeah, I got an early look at it, so that was an honor. So my book is Every Moment Since, and it takes place in 1985. A little boy goes missing in a small southern town, and 21 years later, his very distinct jacket turns up. And when that happens, it reignites the cold case. And it forces four people who have connections to that night to really face some things they've tried to been avoiding, for 21 years. So they all kind of have to return to the town and to the situation and face each other and face people that perhaps they don't really want to tell all the truth to. So
it is, yes, you've got that central theme that brings them all, but you've got four multifaceted stories, and it usually starts though with one spark of inspiration. What was yours for this book?
I mean, I usually start with character, and my husband hates when I talk like this, but you guys are writers, you'll probably understand. With me, it started with Davy, with the little boy who went missing, and he just showed up and he was wearing a Back to the Future jacket. And I knew that something had happened to him and I didn't know what. And I knew that the Back to the Future jacket was important. And I knew that probably if he had this Back to the Future jacket on, it was probably set in 1985. And I started playing with this concept of this little boy, and where was he from, and who was he, and who were the people who loved him, and what happened to him. And I probably chewed on this book for a good, I don't know, 4 or 5 years before I ever wrote the first word. So
Amazing.
So this is a book that obviously, I mean, it has deep themes, it has heavy themes. You have a little boy who's gone missing, nobody knows what's happened to him. And you have a number of different points of view. So there's a lot going on in this book. You have a number of themes, different points of view. What are these themes that are tying these different points of view together? What are the main themes that you were exploring in this book?
So Davy's mom is one of the four main characters. Her name is Tabitha. And when I first met her, she had her back to me and she was writing something at a kitchen counter. And I knew she was a mom, but I didn't know what she was writing. And I knew whatever she was writing was very important. And it took me a long time to kind of figure out what that was. And it turns out it was a regret list. And so the Friday after Davy went missing, she just had so many regrets. I mean, you can imagine as a mother surrounding what happened. And she said she didn't know where to put them. And so she just got a piece of paper out and wrote them down. And that started a habit that and I'm not blowing anything with this, because when you meet her, this is what she's doing. The very first time you see Tabitha, she is writing her regret list. And that is a huge theme in the book. And each one of these characters in their own way is carrying around a lot of regret and a lot of guilt. And, you can imagine with a missing child case that any one of them would be. And so I deal with that a lot. And I deal with there's a little bit of unrequited love in there. And there's the girl next door. And so when Davy went missing, his brother was with him. They were playing night games, which is basically tag and games like that, but at night. But his brother did not handle the situation, and he has a lot of regrets about that. And so that is Thaddeus. And Thaddeus has gone on to write a memoir that is a bestseller, and he is touring on the success of this book. And But he hasn't told the whole truth about that night. And so when Davy goes missing, he's sort of, because he's put himself in a prominent position, he's sort of forced to go home and be a spokesperson for the family. And so he's put into a difficult situation, obviously, with that. But at the same time, he, of course, has to run into the girl next door again. So there's a little bit of everything in this story. It was a lot of fun, and I had a lot of sympathy for the characters, but I also a lot of hope for them as well. And I think ultimately we've all come through, 2020 and the ensuing years after, and the craziness in this world. And the idea of overcoming something hard is not foreign to any of us, no matter what that hard thing might be. So I do a lot with that.
Love that.
Yeah, for me, there was just a lot, there was so much in this book, and there was so much, it was the kind of book that I would have to stop and really think. And, and I also, for me, a lot of what was in here is the rush to judgment. There is a great deal of that. I particularly connected with the character, Gordon is his name, as I recall. And, everybody thinks he's done it, right? And so and particularly to live in this small town, which is really kind of a fishbowl, right? With everybody thinking this, and he's just trying to keep his head down. And the judgment that is on him is just, it really struck me, because I do think we live in a particularly judgmental age right now. So anyway, I'm actually getting to your question. I was just you can tell this book has really struck with me, because I'm still thinking about all of those themes. So it is it is a serious book. There are some real thoughtful things to think about, but yet, even in this really difficult situation, I mean, and what is more difficult than a missing child, right? Everybody's going to have sympathy for that. Yet you do infuse it with some hope toward the end, which I really love, and I think is difficult to do. So talk a little bit about that. How do you do that? And what is it that you want readers to get from that experience?
It's funny because somebody asked me this question, and I thought it was one of the best questions I was asked on tour. And the person asked, could you have written this book when you had young kids at home? And I was like, absolutely not. I didn't have to think about it. I was like, absolutely not. I couldn't have written this book when I had young kids at home. It is, I mean, and I understand in that respect. It's a tough read, but that's exactly what you just asked. It is a hopeful read in the end. I myself personally believe in redemption, and so I will never write a story that does not include it. And I will never leave you there in a dark place. I will always try to lead the characters, and ergo the reader, into the light. So I believe that's what we do every day, is hold each other's hands and try to make it out of dark times. And so that's what I wanted to do with this story, because there are plenty of people. I'm a true crime. I'm chief among sinners for true crime consumption. And I love it, but I really wanted to write about victims. And that's why I did this story. And I could have done almost any crime and written about the victims. But like I said, Davy showed up, and that's what I wrote. But I just wanted to talk about victims, because I think it's really easy to be entertained by a Dateline or a 2020 or a podcast or whatever, and forget that these people, this is their lives, and day in and day out, they live this. And I wanted to paint that portrait, but I also wanted to show them having lighthearted moments and moving forward. And what does that look like? And also seeking justice and seeking their own forms of redemption, and what that looks like. And community, that was another big thing, just to weave in the benefit of a community around you. So
yeah, no, I think that very much, and that's something I am a huge believer in, and I do think you lived us in that place, which is really hard to do in a true crime. So my applause to you, kudos, well done. I really enjoyed this, friends. Go and look for this book, Every Moment Since. It's going to make you think. It's wonderfully well written. The characters are richly, richly drawn. It is worth your time, which is an important thing for any book to do. So go get this. Marybeth, thank you for joining us today. Before we leave you, I just want to ask you, on that message of leaving in a place of hope, Marybeth Whalen, what is bringing you joy today, my friend?
Well, I'm a huge planner junkie, and this is like, the Super Bowl season of planners. So I am all in my planners and doing my goals and checking back with my goals and changing my goals, you know, all that good stuff. So this is high season for this. And so I love it. And I'm setting up planners and journals and all that last week and this week. Hopefully I'll be done soon because it can get a little out of hand with me. But I love it. I love it. I'm such a nerd about it. But
No, I hear that. I hear that. I
too.
get it. I love a good to-do list,
Love
right?
a good
Yes.
to-do list.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Good planner.
wonderful.
I've got it right here. And this year I'm going to write neatly in it.
Oh,
Oh.
okay.
And by the end of the year, it's just,
I don't know about that part,
That's
but
a nice lived-in planner, though. That's what I
so
love to see.
true.
I love to
They're
see
well
just
lived
scrawled
in.
in, and
Yeah,
it's
no.
your life. You know, there's a quote that says the way we spend our days is the way we spend our lives. And so,
Yeah.
you know, looking through a daily planner, you can be like, oh, I remember that day. And it might just
True.
be you went on a walk with the dog and you did the dishes, but that was your life that day. So
that was your day in your life.
I love all
No,
that
there's
stuff.
something to it. I like to kind of have stickers in it too, because that.
Oh, I have stickers. Oh, never. Yes, I have so many stickers. It's
Gotta have a
ridiculous.
sticker. So anyway, friends, Marybeth, thank you for joining us. And thank
Thank
you,
you.
my friends, for joining us here on the 10-Minute Book Talk. We will see you next week for more bookish fun. Thanks a lot. Have a good week.
Bye-bye.